and thank you for taking the time to watch my presentation. The title of my presentation is Beyond Motivation, 4 Strategies Every Coach and PE Teacher Can Use to Develop Self-Motivated Athletes. My name is Trey Scott, and today I want to share 4 strategies that have completely changed the way I approach coaching and teaching. As coaches and educators, we spend a lot of time trying to motivate students. We give speeches before games, encourage them during workouts, and remind them of their goals. While those things certainly have value, I learned that lasting motivation isn't created by one great speech or one successful practice. Throughout this presentation, I'll share 4 practical strategies that are rooted in both motivation research and my own experience as a high school strength and conditioning coach. My hope is that these strategies will give you practical ideas you can immediately apply within your own athletic programs and physical education classrooms. As educators, I'm sure we've seen our shared motivational challenges that we've experienced from our students. One could be students lose motivation when progress slows down. When they hit these plateaus, it can be very discouraging for them. 2, many focus on outcomes instead of the process, not being where their feet are. 3, confidence often depends on comparison with others, how they're validated through their friends, and comparison of just competing, if you're talking about our student athletes. 4, not being equipped with strategies that build lasting motivation, things that are not part of their daily habits to build up a skill. Early in my coaching career, I believe motivation came primarily from accountability and encouragement. If I challenged students enough or gave them the right motivational speech, I thought they would naturally stay committed. While encouragement still matters, I realized that motivation isn't something we can simply give our students. Instead, it's something we have to help them develop. Students become self-motivated when they understand the purpose behind their work, when they have meaningful goals, and when they experience progress over time. That realization changed how I approach conversation with athletes, how I set expectations in the weight room, and ultimately how I measure success as a coach. Before discussing the 4 strategies, I want to explain where they come from. What changed my perspective? There were 2 real experiences and 2 motivational theories that helped me develop these strategies. First one was a student struggling to find value in participation, and another athlete with a dream but no clear plan. The 2 motivational theories that changed my outlook and my perspective on it were expectancy value theory and goal orientation theory. I use both of these in different situations to help my athletes develop one goal. The goal was developing self-motivated students. Although these 2 students faced different challenges, they taught me the same lesson. Motivation is not a one-size-fits-all. Every student has different experiences, different values, and different reasons for learning. As coaches and teachers, our responsibility is to understand those differences and create an environment where students can develop motivation from within. The 4 strategies I'll discuss there are built directly from these experiences and have already begun changing the way I coach and teach every day. The first strategy I want to share is help students find value before expecting effort. One of my college coaches always told me, show them your heart before you show them your rear. This is something that always stuck with me, and especially with this value and what it's based on, I think it stands out right here. As coaches, we often become frustrated when athletes don't give effort we expect. Our first instinct is to usually challenge them to work harder or remind them of their responsibilities. What I've learned through expectancy value theory is that if students don't see value in what they're doing, it is very difficult for them to consistently invest effort, especially when adversity shows up. This matters so much as listed right here. Students must see value in the task. It values influence, efforts, and persistence, and it also connects learning to personal goals. Expectancy value theory suggests that students are more motivated when they believe they can succeed and when they perceive value in the task. The value might come from enjoying this activity, seeing its importance, recognizing its usefulness, or believing it aligns with future goals. I often have athletes question me why we do certain exercises. Sometimes it works to, or is best to relate it to their sport. Sometimes that still doesn't work, but it's better to equip them with the knowledge than to not equip them with the knowledge. As coaches and PE teachers, we have to remember that every student is motivated by something different. Some students value competition, others value relationships, some are motivated by personal improvement, while others are simply looking for a place where they feel like they belong. If we never take time to understand what our students value, we'll always be trying to motivate them from our perspective instead of theirs. Helping students discover why something matters is much more powerful than simply telling them they need to work harder. Before we get to our next strategy, I want to point something out that was shown to me. Discipline eats motivation for breakfast. Motivation gets you started. Habit keeps you going. We build systems, not just hype. I think this quote is very fitting for the next strategy that comes in. In this strategy, number 2, turn big dreams into daily habits. Really fits into what this is based on, goal orientation theory. Goal orientation theory refers to underlying purpose behind the pursuing of that goal. In conjunction with expectancy value theory, big goals provide direction. Daily habits create mastery of that, though. That's where goal orientation comes in at to make this a more intentional effort. It makes you more process focused goals, keeps students motivated through setbacks, because they will happen. Good things happen and bad things happen, but you got to keep the ball rolling. Students gain confidence by measuring improvement, not just outcomes. This shows true mastery of those daily habits that can turn into big dreams one day. This is more suited for you athletes who don't necessarily lack big dreams or goals, but they lack direction on how to get there. Turning their big dreams into daily habits, making them more intentional, will show true mastery of their craft that they want to be at and what level they want to be at. For example, asking a Division I football player what level they want to make it to, where they see themselves at, ask them what their daily habits are. Are they fitting, or are they just trying to get by for their goals? Things you have to question to them for what's inside their control is their effort, their attendance, their strength, their technique, their recovery, their nutrition, their discipline. Intentionally shifting those conversations away from their end goal and toward daily improvement will identify measurable strength and improvement in what they need to be doing to reach that goal. Students who often struggle with these often have comparison problems of viewing what other people should view for them or how they view themselves and where they should be at. This makes it a little more driven for improvement and mastery. I think one of the biggest mistakes coaches sometimes make is spending a lot of time about championships, starting positions, scholarships, and winning games. Those things definitely matter. But if all that's the students focus on and we harp on, they often become discouraged because those outcomes are completely out of their control sometimes. But the daily habits are always under their control. When athletes begin measuring success by the work they put in every day instead of waiting for someone else to validate them, they become more resilient, confident, and self-motivated. Now, the third strategy, focus on what they can control, is based on expectancy value theory and goal orientation theory. Why it matters because students can't control every outcome. Just like we reiterated in the last strategy, controllable actions build confidence and resilience. Focusing on effort reduces frustration after setbacks. When reflecting on back of those two scenarios that helped me develop these strategies, I noticed something interesting that they had in common. Even though the students had completely different scenarios, they were both spending most of their energy thinking about things that they could not control. One was overwhelmed by circumstances outside of school that made it difficult to see the value in participating. The other focused on earning a Division I scholarship, something that ultimately depends on coaches, recruiting opportunities, and many factors outside of his control. That made me ask myself an important question. What can I help these students with control today? What students can control is how they prepare. They can control whether they show up. They can control their effort. They can control whether they're coachable. They can control how they respond after making a mistake. When we consistently redirect students back to their controllable behaviors, something powerful happens. They stop worrying so much about proving themselves and start focusing on improving themselves daily. I've noticed that athletes who embrace this mindset become much more resilient. They recover from bad practices quicker. They don't let setbacks define them. They begin measuring success by the quality of their preparation instead of someone else's opinion. That's a lesson I'll continue carrying into every session that I have as a coach. The next strategy also builds off of this as well, as far as those daily habits. Strategy 4, build confidence through small wins. Small successes build self-confidence. The progress reinforces motivation. Confident students are always more willing to embrace these challenges. Confidence alone isn't just built through success, it is also built through progress as well. Those are two very different ideas. Success is often viewed as reaching your final destination. Progress happens every single day, no matter how big. As a coach, I realized students stay motivated much longer when they could actually see some things improving, see themselves improving. In my weight room, sometimes that improvement was adding weight to a lift. Sometimes it was mastering a new technique. Sometimes it was simply showing up consistently for an entire week. Those small wins add up to bigger goals. Those moments may seem small, but they're incredibly important because they give students evidence that their effort is paying off. As coaches, I'm guilty of it as well. It is easy to focus on correcting mistakes, that's part of our job, but I also think we have a responsibility to recognize growth as well. When athletes hear nothing but corrections, they can begin believing they're not doing enough. When they hear both correction and encouragement, they begin trusting the process. This takes me back to my original coach, my coach Dave. Show them your heart before you show them your rear. As a former college athlete, I can honestly say my confidence wasn't built during the games. It was built during the thousands of small moments nobody else saw. Early morning workouts, extra repetitions after practice, gradually getting stronger, watching film, improve little by little by little, day by day. Those small victories eventually prepared me for much bigger opportunities and to pass it on to the next generation. That's exactly what I want my student athletes to experience. I don't want them waiting until they receive an award or scholarship to feel successful. I want them to recognize that every good decision they make today is another small win, moving them toward the person that they want to become. When coaches intentionally celebrate effort, consistency, discipline, and improvement, they create athletes who don't just perform well for one season. They do it for life. They develop young people who become confident, resilient, and self-motivated long after they leave the classroom or the football field. One of the biggest takeaways from this presentation that I want you to walk away with is that motivation isn't a one size fits all. Even with on the same athletic teams, same class, every student athlete that walks into the room with different experiences, different goals, and different challenges comes in differently and needs a different set of motivation. As coaches and PE teachers, we have to recognize those differences without lowering our expectations. Some athletes struggle with confidence. They're afraid of making mistakes or they compare themselves to teammates who may be further along. Those athletes need opportunities to experience success through small wins. Celebrating consistent attendance, improving technique, or increased effort can help build confidence that eventually leads to greater performance. On the other hand, some athletes are naturally talented. Their biggest challenge isn't confidence, it's maintaining a growth mindset. Those students can become overly focused on rankings, statistics, scholarships, or being the best player on the team. That's where the mastery-oriented goals become so important. We have to remind them that their greatest competition should be who they were yesterday. We also coach athletes who become from different backgrounds and life experiences. Some students immediately buy into this process, while others need help understanding why the work matters. Taking time to build relationships and connecting training to their personal goals can make a tremendous difference in their motivation. Finally, there are students dealing with challenges outside of athletics, family issues, academic jobs, or personal struggles can all affect motivation. While we can't solve every problem our athletes face, we can provide consistency, encouragement, and help them focus on the things that they can control every day. No matter who is standing in front of us, these four strategies can help create an environment where student athletes feel challenged, supported, and motivated to continue improving. What this experience changed in my coaching. Before these two experiences and these two theories, I thought motivation was solely intrinsic. I was specifically focused on the goals being focused on outcomes, and success was measured by the results. This experience taught me that motivation starts long before any athlete steps onto the field or into the weight room, or even the classroom. It starts by helping students find value in what they're doing. It grows when they develop meaningful goals centered on daily improvement rather than just outcomes. It becomes stronger when they focus on what they can control instead of worrying about everything they can't. And it lasts when they experience small victories that build confidence over time. One thing that challenged me personally was realizing I sometimes assumed I already knew what motivated my athletes. Now I spend more time asking questions instead of making assumptions. What are your goals? Why are those goals important to you? What's one thing you can improve on this week, this day, this hour, this class session, whatever it need to be? Those conversations have made me a better coach because they have allowed me to better understand my athletes instead of simply coaching their performance. Moving forward, these strategies will continue to shape how I run my weight room, how I coach football, and how I build relationships with my students. My goal isn't simply to produce stronger athletes, it's to help develop disciplined, resilient young people who know how to motivate themselves long after they've left my classroom. Because beyond motivation, that is my goal, to develop self motivated students, not just successful athletes, that'll go on to live long, successful lives. As I close, I'd like to leave you with one final message. As coaches and PE teachers, we have an incredible opportunity to impact students far beyond sports and physical education. Every practice, every workout, and every conversation gives us a chance to shape habits, confidence, resilience, and character. There's one thing that I hope that you take away from this presentation is this: motivation is something we give our student athletes. Isn't something we give our student athletes, it's something we can help them develop. I encourage you to challenge yourself this year to do more than motivate your athletes. Help them discover a purpose in their work that they're doing. Help them focus on becoming a little bit better every day. Celebrate the small victories that often go unnoticed. Most importantly, invest in the person you are before you invest in the player. Thank you for the time watching my presentation. I hope these 4 strategies give you practical ideas you can use to develop more confident, resilient, and self-motivated student athletes in your own program.